So, boys and girls, in Bible, we've been talking about trust. Now, we've talked some about people that we trust. I want to talk right now about some things that I trust. So, for example, a window. I trust the window. I trust that when it rains, the window is going to keep the rain out. It's not going to let the rain come in. I trust that if it's really windy, the wind will stay outside. The window will keep the wind out. I trust my bowl. I like to have cereal sometimes in the morning for breakfast, and I trust that my bowl is going to hold the milk and it's going to hold the cereal for me to eat it. My bowl isn't going to just let all the milk run out and all the cereal jump out onto the floor. My bowl is going to hold it. I trust my bowl. Now, when I eat my cereal, I like to sit at a chair at the table, and I trust my chair. I trust my chair to hold me up. I'm sitting on a chair right now. I trust this chair not to just go underneath me and have me fall down flat on the floor. I trust my chair. Now, boys and girls, when I trust these things, I trust them because I've used them a lot. And I know I've used that bowl a lot, and it has never let the milk go dripping out. I have slept under the same window many, many nights when it's rained and the window has never let the rain in. And I've sat on this chair lots and lots. You guys have watched me sitting here on this chair this year, haven't you? And the chair has never fallen down underneath me. Now, I suppose all those things could eventually happen, right? The window could break, the bowl could crack. Maybe my chair could get so old it does actually, fall apart underneath me. But in general, I can trust these things. I can know because I've used them so many times. I depend on them to work. Now, when we think about trusting people, we've talked some about this idea, right? That if we've done something with people before and they've been trustworthy, it's easier for us to trust them again. And we've talked about how trust ultimately comes from God. Remember, we did that with the flow chart, talking about Ananias and Saul and God and trust. And we talked a little bit about it with Barnabas. Remember when Paul first came to Jerusalem and he went to the believers? And they weren't sure they wanted him around. But when Barnabas said, no, let me tell you about what Paul has done, then the believers trusted Paul because of Barnabas. And I would guess Barnabas could trust Paul because of his trust in God. Now, boys and girls, back when we first started talking about all these things with trust and Paul and Saul, we were talking about whose footsteps would you follow. Do you remember we looked at those pictures of different footprints and what might be safe to follow? So we know ultimately the only really safe, trustworthy thing is God, right? My window might break, my bowl might crack, my chair might fall apart. Parents, pastors, teachers, best friends, they might all do things that are untrustworthy. But ultimately, we can trust God and follow in his footsteps. What's really awesome is when we start following him so much that our footsteps become trustworthy also. It all has to start with God, though. So, boys and girls, today, we're kind of going to be starting a new copy work. What you do need to do, though, is get your foot, because we're going to start thinking about having trustworthy footprints, just like God's footprints are trustworthy. So you are going to actually get your foot today, and we're going to put it into your encounter journal, and you're going to trace your foot. So you need your encounter journal, you need your pencil, and you need your eraser. We're going to trace our feet into our encounter journal. Okay, so before we get to our copy work and making a footprint in our encounter journal, I do want you to have another video of the story of Paul's life. Remember, it's good to see different ways that people think about it because none of us were there. And so there's only this little bit of the story that's in the Bible, and we kind of have to imagine the rest of it. And we know none of us is going to imagine it exactly the right way. So seeing lots of different versions of it might help us to see different things and go, that's the way they think about it, and that's the way they think about it, and talk to God about what God might need you to see in that story.
from enemy to friend. Saul was a religious man, a Pharisee. He thought that anyone who believed in Jesus was spreading a lie and should be put in prison and even put to death. Saul was going to Damascus to arrest Jesus' followers. Suddenly, a bright light surrounded him. He fell down. A voice said, "Saul, why are you so cruel to me?" "Who are you, Lord?" Saul asked. The voice replied, "I am Jesus, the one you want to harm. Go to Damascus. There you will learn what you must do." Saul got up, but he was blind. His friends led him to a house in Damascus. Saul waited there for 3 days. He had nothing to eat or drink. Meanwhile, Jesus appeared in a vision to Ananias, one of his followers in Damascus. Jesus told him to go visit Saul and pray for him so he could see again. "But Saul wants to arrest your followers," Ananias said, trembling. "I know," said Jesus, "but I want to use Saul to tell people all over the world about me." Ananias went to pray for Saul. "Jesus sent me," he said, "so that you may see and be filled with the Holy Spirit." Saul could see again. Then he was baptized. Jesus changed Saul from a man who hurt his followers to a church leader who told everyone about Jesus. So he changed his name as well to Paul.
All right, so here you can see I am working backwards in the book that I'm using because I have something else up here in the front. So I'm working backwards. So this is my next empty page. If you guys have your copy work here, you need to go to another page, right? All right, you're gonna need your whole page, and this should be a little easier for you than for me because your feet are a little smaller. And also, because so that it will show on camera, I have to pick my foot up and stick it on my desk, and this is a little awkward for me. You can put your encounter journal down on the floor, but go ahead and trace around your foot. We're going to be making a footprint to write our next copy work in. I just about have mine done. How's yours coming? Let's see. What have I got here? All right, there I am. It's not a perfect footprint, but that'll do. So boys and girls, this is where we're going to be starting our next copy work. Now, we're not going to write a whole bunch today, but we are going to write the verse and get that ready. So go ahead and put a yellow line for your letters to walk on. Now, it might go outside your footprint some, that's okay. So remember Peter, James, and John, Jesus' friends? So John, he wrote, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. He wrote John, but he also wrote 3 other letters. So John of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John is his great big long one that tells all the stories of Jesus' life. His 3 letters are just called 1 John, 2 John, and 3 John. And our copy work comes from 1 John. And to show first, we do a capital I. That's a little strange, isn't it? But that's how we do it. And you know what? It's easier than writing out the whole word first. 1 John. Now, John is a word from another language. And so it has this H here, even though we don't really say that. John Lum doesn't use the H, but in the book of the Bible, John, we do. All right, 1 John. Do you have your stars there? Star between 1 and John. And now another star because we're going to put the chapter in the verse. And we're going to put here 4. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make my letters get tiny, my numbers get tiny to fit in. 4 and 2 dots here, that colon, that means this is the chapter and this is the verse. 16, and then we're actually going to sneak in a little letter A. And that tells us 416 is actually longer than what we're going to write, but we're just doing the first part. So the first part of it is 16A. The second part of it would be 16B. If it were in 3 parts, we'd call it 16C. We're just doing 16A. But that's all we've got for today, guys. There is